My daughter forgot to hang up, and I heard, "It's time to put father in a nursing home." I remained silent. They sold my house for $70 million and went on vacation. They returned, but the key wouldn't fit the lock. In the note I had left it read, "Thanks for selling the house. I've already transferred the money to my account. Good luck. I'm going to tell this the way it happened, the way it felt. No chapters, no speech about life lessons. Just me talking to you like we're on a porch somewhere in the South, a dog snoring at our feet, a glass sweating in my hand. I'll call myself Tom because that's my name. I'm 68. My knees ache when it rains, and I have this old habit of rubbing my thumb against my forefinger when I get nervous. It makes a soft rasping sound. My wife used to tease me about that. Said she could hear me thinking from the next room. It started on a Wednesday. Not a special Wednesday. The kind of day that slides by, light gray and harmless. I woke up before the sun, as usual. The house was quiet except for the fridge cycling on, and the old floor register ticking as the heat kicked in. It was early spring. That sweet, cold in the morning, warm by lunch kind of day North Carolina does so well. My coffee maker sputtered like it always does, and the smell came first. Burnt toast and chocolate, like it does when I don't clean it enough. I never clean it enough. I've been retired 5 years. Sort of retired. I still fix lawn mowers for neighbors, change oil, sharpen blades. It keeps my hands from feeling worthless, and neighbors always bring pie or hush puppies. And that's been a fair trade since I was a boy. I sat at the kitchen table with my mug and the dented pepper shaker and the little salt bowl my wife, Donna, bought on a trip to Asheville. Handmade ceramic, the kind you know you overpaid for, but pretend you didn't. The sun came in soft through the blinds and made zebra stripes on the table. The phone buzzed near the fruit bowl. It was a text from Donna. "Hey, can you pick me up from Trina's thing tonight? I'm doing my hair and don't want to drive back late. We live about 25 minutes from Trina's place. Gated community, wide streets, 14 different shades of beige on the houses. Everybody jogs like their lives depend on it. Nice folks, mostly. Donna and Trina met at church. They do that thing where they talk in the pew before service starts, whispering about something important and not important, both at the same time. Sure, I texted back. What time? Maybe 10? I'll call if it runs late. Love you. Love you too. Simple. We've been married 37 years. I can't say we've ever been the fireworks kind, or like a steady porch light. On when it should be on, always ready. That night was going to be the same. I'd watch a game, maybe reheat chili, and then I'd pick her up and tease her that she smelled like somebody else's perfume. I spent the day in the shed out back, the one I built after my second heart scare. It smells like oil and sawdust and old baseball gloves. People who haven't been in a shed like that don't know how a smell can hold you steady. My neighbor, Hodges, dropped off a mower with a belt squeal. He left a bag of biscuits on the workbench and yelled through the open door, "Don't cuss at it too much, Tom. It's got feelings." I cussed at it exactly enough. The day moved easy, the way silt moves in a slow creek, lazy, just going where it's told. Then the sun went down, and the house got that hollow sound it gets at night, where even a fork on a plate sounds like a church bell. At 9:45, I pulled on a jacket and got in the truck. The seats molded to my shape, and when I shifted into reverse, it made that old squeal that sounds like a mouse losing an argument. I looked in the mirror. I had that look my dad had at this age. Wrinkles that look like they were drawn by somebody who loves you, not the sharp ones worry draws. I don't know why I'm telling you that. Maybe because it's the last time in this story I remember feeling like myself. The road to Trina's cuts through a strip of pines and then opens up. Big houses, quiet sidewalks, mailboxes that look like they get their mail ironed. The security guy at the gate knows me. He lifted the gate with a nod, like we shared a secret. I parked under a streetlight and texted Donna, "Here, no rush." She called. I picked up, and her voice came through like she was in a tunnel. "Hey, can you give me 15? We're just wrapping up." "No problem. I'll be here." "Thanks, babe." She didn't hang up. I heard the muffled rustle that says a person thinks a call ended, but their thumb missed the red button. I was about to say, "You didn't hang up." But then I heard a voice in the background. A high, bright voice I knew like my own heartbeat. "Mom, it's time to put Father in a nursing home." That word, father. My daughter, Amy, only calls me that when she's trying to stay calm, or when she's angry, or when she wants something. Mostly she calls me Dad, or Daddy when she's sweet. Hearing father told me I'd walked into the middle of a room I didn't know I was in. Donna said low, "Amy." "Mom, listen, it's time." I looked into places. He can't be alone in that big old house. He could fall. He could leave a burner on. And property values are insane right now. 70 million in this market? Easy. Someone laughed. Not a funny laugh. A sharp, paper-cut laugh. Another woman, maybe Trina. Someone else said, 70 with that lot? Honey, you could do better. 70 million. I thought it had to be a joke, a slip, a wine-tongue thing. We live in an old brick two-story with a piece of land that backs up to creek and county forest. My grandfather bought it for the price of a used car back when the world made different kinds of sense. The city grew around it like a vine. A developer sent a letter last year and I threw it away without telling Donna because it felt like trash. Words that smelled like tar on a hot day. But there have been rumors. Talk about rezoning, new highway access. I fix mowers, not the market. I don't know everything. But you know when your name is being used to push a boulder. My thumb rubbed against my forefinger. Soft rasp. In the truck, under that street light, my breath went shallow. Not a panic. Not yet. More like my whole insides leaned forward, listening. Amy sighed. "Mother, we're doing him a favor. He'll be safe. He'll have company. Bingo nights. That place with the pond. He can fish. He loves fishing." Donna said, "Your father doesn't need..." "Father needs to be taken care of. You said it yourself last week. He forgot to shut the garage door. You woke up at 2 and it was open. Mom, this is how they get in. They, always a faceless they in the suburbs. They steal things. They steal peace. They steal the illusion of control. We use they to make our fear look smart." I held the phone to my ear and listened to my daughter make a case against me like she was at a board meeting. I waited for Donna to say, "No, the house is his." But silence can be a kind of answer. Trina's voice floated in, syrupy. "Girl, y'all are being practical. I had to do it with my daddy. He fought me for a month. Then he moved and said it was the best thing that ever happened to him." Then a man's voice. Slow, confident, older. I didn't recognize it right away. And then I did. And it felt like someone put a hand around my throat. It was Rick. Rick from church. Rick who built decks and smiled like a politician. Rick who always had a hand on someone's elbow guiding them somewhere. Rick who'd been over for barbecue more times than I can count. He said, "Don't overthink it. Paperwork is straightforward. If you can get power of attorney, you can sell fast. Developers will foam at the mouth. This city is starving for land. 70 is leaving money on the table." Amy said, "Power of attorney?" "Easy to set up if he trusts you," Rick said. But if he won't sign, there are other ways. If finances are technically shared, Donna said, so soft I almost didn't hear it. Rick. What I heard in her voice wasn't surprise. It wasn't like she was hearing him for the first time. It was the voice you use when someone you know bumps into a boundary you wish they wouldn't. The night had gone so quiet that I could hear a moth beating itself against the truck's windshield. Thump, thump, thump. I stared at the steering wheel and felt a heat begin in my chest, not like anger yet, like a pilot light. You know it's down there, you don't think about it. But when gas fills the oven, that little flame becomes a thing that changes everything. Then Donna's voice got closer to the phone, like she was walking down a hallway. Tom, you there? I swallowed. My voice didn't move. I felt more than thought, like I was underwater and my brain was a fish swimming off in a silver panic. I watched my hands. That's what you do when everything else is too loud. You look at your hands. They were steady. I pressed the red button and ended the call. I didn't go to the door. I didn't honk. I didn't send a text. I drove home. The road back felt different, like it tilted. Houses leaned in, the trees leaned. Even the stoplights seemed to hang by a thread. Some part of me waited for my phone to buzz. It didn't. Maybe they thought I'd decided to wait. Maybe Donna saw the call ended and stuck me in the box labeled husband, reliable. He'll be there. He always is. I pulled into our driveway and sat with the engine ticking. The house, my house, stood quiet, dark, nearly black against the lighter sky. The porch light threw a warm circle like a memory. I got out, my knees complaining, and the night smelled like damp dirt and something sweet. Honeysuckle or the neighbor's dryer sheets. I unlocked the door. That sound of the lock turning, the little metal click, is one of the most faithful sounds in my life. Inside, the house felt like it always did. Cozy, tired, lived in. There's a framed needlepoint in the hall. Bless this house with love and laughter. Under it, a scuff mark I never painted over because it looks like a comet. The kitchen had a pan on the stove with chili in it and a spoon resting like it was asleep. Donna left a Post-it on the fridge last week. Buy milk, love. And maybe some of those mini donuts you sneak when I'm not around. She made a heart after love. I put my hand on the paper, like I could take heat from it. My phone buzzed. Donna, you still at Trina's? I thought of 100 things to say. 100 ways to talk this out. 100 scenes in which we were honest with each other and nobody had to say father like he was a defendant. The 100 scenes all ended with me in a place with a pond and organized activities. And the house with strangers in it. People who would not notice the comet's scuff or the way the hall leans just a little when it storms. People with keys. My mind had started counting keys long ago, in ways I didn't admit. Who had a key? Me, Donna, Amy. 2 copies in the kitchen drawer we always mean to put somewhere else. A neighbor, Janice, for emergencies. Rick, once, when he came to feed the cat, years back, when Donna's mother was sick in Florida. I made a note then to get that key back. I never did. The pilot light in my chest flickered. I texted, heading home. You get a ride? Trina's son can drive me. See you soon. I set the phone on the counter and put my palms down next to it. The laminate is cool in the dark. I listen to the house breathe. Old wood talks in its sleep. You can hear it settle. I walked down the hall, turned on the lamp in the front room, and sat on the couch. A baseball game murmured on mute, players moving like ghosts. I didn't watch. I listened for the truck in my driveway that was always mine. I listened for the door that was always ours. I listened and told myself, be quiet. Be still. Let them talk first. Let them say it to your face. I must have slept a little sitting up because next thing I knew, I heard the garage door and then Donna's laugh, high and tired, floating through the wall. Amy's voice, quick and efficient, talking about something trivial, like a candle that smelled like laundry. Their footsteps came into the kitchen. Donna said, "Tom?" And her voice bounced off the cabinets the way sound does when people are braced. I stood up and walked to the doorway. They both looked at me like I'd appeared out of a magic trick gone wrong. Amy had her hair up in a messy bun, strands stuck like spider silk, and she held her tote bag close to her like it contained plans. Donna had makeup smudged at the corner of her eye that made her look tired and soft and younger all at once. I loved her so hard in that moment, it felt like a bad joke my body was playing on me. "Hey," Donna said. "Hey," I said. My mouth was dry enough to make my lips stick. Amy smiled too wide. "Oh, good, you're here. We were just talking about—" "I heard you," I said. Not loud, like telling someone a seat is taken. Donna's mouth opened, then closed. She looked at my hands. Maybe she heard me thinking. Amy's smile fell off her face like a clip that lost its spring. "I didn't mean," she started, then pivoted, the way she learned to pivot in arguments with me when she was 16. "Father, we need to discuss practical things. We're concerned about your safety." "You called me father earlier," I said. "It sounded like you were making a case." Donna said, "Tom, please, sit down. We can talk about—" I felt the heat rise in my neck. Rick had a lot of opinions for a man who isn't family. Donna closed her eyes. There it was, the flinch. Not guilt exactly, but that realization that the phone you didn't know was recording caught you at a bad angle. Amy jumped in. "He just knows paperwork. He said he can help. Don't make this a big thing." "You were selling my house for $70 million, I said. Silence. Even the fridge held its breath. Amy said, "We were discussing possibilities." "You were deciding my life in a room I wasn't invited into," I said. "I heard you say nursing home, pond." Amy looked at Donna like, "Do something." Donna looked at me like I was a stranger in the right kitchen. "Tom," she said, "we're worried, that's all. You left the garage door open last week." "So I go to a place with bingo because the garage door was open?" It came out too loud. My own voice startled me, like thunder in a clear sky. Donna stepped forward, palms up. "It isn't like that. I swear it isn't. I got overwhelmed. Rick said—" What else did Rick say? My tongue felt like it didn't fit my mouth. Donna's face changed. I watched it happen, the muscle by her left eye twitching. That tell she has when she's deciding between defending herself and telling the truth. The twitch won. He said the developer called him. He was asked to feel us out, about the property. So a man from church is the messenger for the people who want to take the one thing that's steady in my life. "Convenient," I said. Amy held up her hands like I was a dog about to bolt. "Dad, please, don't make this into betrayal. It's logistics. We can get a better kitchen, easier stairs. We can hire a nurse who comes by. You can have a new workshop in a place that's safe." "The word safe," I said. And then I stopped. My shoulders dropped. I walked past them and got a glass of water I didn't drink. I wanted to slam it down and be dramatic, but all I did was hold it. I wish I could tell you that I handled it with grace, that I listened and we spoke like adults, and I didn't feel like I was standing in front of a jury with my knees rattling. But that night was the first unraveling. It didn't all go at once. Threads came loose. The next day, Donna was gentle. Amy sent me links to nice places with manicured lawns and kindness in their marketing. She came by with banana bread and sat on the porch and looked at me with those eyes she got from her mother, big, hopeful, stubborn. I drank coffee and listened to the birds. And I thought long and slow, the way you think about a road that looks like it might have a sinkhole under it. I didn't speak much that day. I fixed the mower of a man I don't like and did it well. I went to the bank to deposit a check for $40 because little things held me upright. The teller, a woman with glitter nails, asked me how my day was going, and I wanted to tell her, I think my family is planning my exit. I think the ground is moving. Instead, I said, good, thanks. And we both pretended we believed me. Then came the second day, then the third. Amy got more confident. She came with a folder. Words in it I recognized, words I didn't. Donna began moving like someone who had made a decision but couldn't say it yet. She started saying things like, just in case, and if we did decide. She left a brochure on the kitchen table, and the old Tom who keeps peace would have laughed it off and said, you two are nuts, and gone to watch a game. The new Tom took the brochure to the shed and stared at the smiling older folks on the cover with that tight, fixed smile older folks reserve for situations where they're trying to reality check something too big to process. Their smiles made me tired. On the fourth day, I called my nephew, Mark. He's not the smartest in the family. He is the most loyal. People underestimate how those two things are different. He works in real estate law. I've never asked him for anything. When he answered, I could hear a baby crying in the background and Mark saying, hang on, man. And juggling a kid and a conversation like that's normal. He called me Uncle T, even though we both know it sounds silly. What's up, Uncle T? Mark, if someone wanted to sell my house without me, could they? He went quiet like he dropped a wrench in his mind and was listening to where it fell. Do you have joint accounts with Aunt Donna? Yes. Is she on the title? Yes. Then she can do a lot without you. Depends on how things are structured. Are they trying to sell your house without you? Let's say hypothetically my wife and daughter think the house is worth $70 million. Mark whistled. Hypothetically, that changes the number of people who suddenly love you very much. Can somebody get power of attorney for me without me signing? Not easily. They'd need a court saying you're not able to handle your affairs. Do they have a doctor's letter? No. Then they're in Wishland. Uncle T, you need a lawyer, a bulldog. You want me to be that? I pictured Mark in his suit, which I've only seen twice. Once at his wedding, too long in the arms, once at his dad's funeral, too tight. No, I said. I need air. I need time. He paused. And you need to move some things around, protection-wise. We didn't say more, but he texted me a list. Small, sneaky things. Not illegal. Just a recalibration of who owns what, who can sign what, who can do what when I'm not standing in the room. I didn't do any of it right away. I sat at the kitchen table with that list, and the smell of coffee that morning was less sweet and more burnt, like something got left on the heat too long. Donna moved around me like we were at a slow dance. We both forgot the steps, too. She kissed my head when she passed. That quick little touch that says, I still know the map of your body. On the 6th day, she asked if I was angry. I said I wasn't. It was true and not true, like a lot of things in marriage. Then on the 8th day, on a sunlit Sunday, something I hadn't planned arrived. A man in a suit rang the doorbell. He held a folder. He wore a cologne so strong I could taste it. He smiled and used my first name like he'd known me since 2nd grade. Tom? Is Donna home? Who are you? Name's Greg. with monsoon development. We've been keeping an eye on this parcel for a long time. We are prepared to make a generous offer. 75. If we can sign by Friday. 75. Just saying it felt like chewing something too rich that your stomach will regret later. Donna came to the door with her hair in a clip and her church cardigan on, and she made a face at me that said, "Please don't embarrass me." Amy appeared like she's always been, cutting in like a good point guard. She took the man's card. They stood there like it was a normal Sunday. It wasn't. I excused myself and went to the back porch. I sat there with the sunlight on my shoulders and the smell of cut grass sweet and sharp, and I felt that pilot light click. Not a flame yet, just the click. I took out my phone and scrolled to a note I'd typed one night at 2 a.m. when the house made a noise like it was making up its mind. The note read, "Keys, accounts, title, locks, neighbors, the safe." I had put the word safe last because it scared me. My father kept our papers in a safety deposit box the size of a bread loaf. He said, "Tommy, you don't keep your soul in the sock drawer." I don't have a deposit box. I have a safe. It sits in the floor of the bedroom closet under a dirty clothes basket and an old blanket. Donna never liked it because it made the closet smell like rubber and fear. Inside that safe, the original deed, the will we wrote 15 years ago, birth certificates, pictures of my mother yellowed so sweet it hurt to look at her, and a stack of savings bonds my grandfather bought for me one at a time back when $1 wore a different shirt. Nobody cares about those anymore, except me. That night, I moved the safe. Then I moved it back. Then I felt ridiculous, a man shuffling secrets in his own house. I wasn't built for spy games. I was built for steady. Then I remembered Rick's smile. I remembered power of attorney, the words that sound like a hug and a hand around your throat at the same time. I moved the safe again. Not far. Just enough that I knew where it was and where it wasn't. I went to Walgreens and bought a second-hand looking fireproof lockbox and put old warranty booklets in it and left it half open under a blanket. Decoy. The whole thing made me feel like a child playing house. The pilot light burned brighter. You want me to jump to the moment? The lock, the note, the climax. I will. But understand, the big moment doesn't matter without the small, dull ones. The way Donna poured my coffee without looking at me. The way Amy measured my reaction like she measures flour. The way the house seemed to lean in, listening. The way people lean in when they want you to whisper. On the 10th day, Amy took me on a drive to get out. She took the long road, around the lake, past that new grocery store where everything comes in containers that look expensive on purpose. She narrated small things to fill the air. They're redoing the boat launch. Parking's been a mess. There's a new taco place everyone loves. There's a farmer's market now on Thursdays. When people narrate the world like that, they're cushioning something. We ended up in front of a nice building with curved glass, a pond out front with a little fountain and a pair of geese that looked like they judged everyone. She said, "Too bright. Let's just look." We went inside. It smelled like lemon cleaner and something pretending to be home-like. A cheerful lady with a name tag and white teeth asked if I liked bingo. I said I like quiet. She laughed like that was a joke. She showed us a room with a window that overlooked the pond, and the way she said it, "You can put your things here, your photographs, your books," made me imagine the word "your" in quotation marks. I nodded and thanked her. We left. Amy looked at me sideways. I said nothing. The pilot light went to flame. That night, the conversation blew up. Not a scream fight. I don't have good lungs for that. It was one of those fights where the words are so quiet they slice. Amy said I was being stubborn. Donna said I was making her out to be a villain. I said I heard them. Donna cried, not pretty movie crying, real crying. Nose red, mouth open, sound like a hurt animal. I stepped forward to hold her, and she stepped back. That was the first time in our marriage she did that. I sat down. She said, "Tom, they want to buy us out. They want to build towers. We cannot stop the river with our hands. We will drown if we try." "I like our river," I said. "I like getting my feet wet." She said, "I don't." I slept in the shed that night. The smell of oil was not comforting. It was sharp, like a coin held on the tongue. In the morning, I texted Mark, "Go ahead." He called a friend of his who was a bulldog, the kind of person who chews on problems and doesn't let go. The bulldog sent forms. He said words like trust and probate and partition. He said I could set up a trust the house would be in that required both signatures to sell and required my personal sign-off for any move. I signed. Donna didn't. She refused on principle. It caused a fight I do not want to replay. The bulldog said, "Then you need something else." Something else came from an angle I didn't expect. There's a boy down the road named Eli. He's 13 and skateboards, even though our road is not meant for it. His board makes this clack-clack over the cracks that my brain started timing my days by. He helps me sometimes in the shed. He asked me one day if I was okay. I said, "Do I look not okay?" He said, "You look like you're holding your breath." Children can cut you and then be playing Fortnite 5 seconds later. I told him a baby version of the truth. He listened in a way grown-ups don't. He said, "You should prank them." I said, "What?" He said, "You should make it so when they sell your house, it sells them." I laughed for real then, the first real laugh in 2 weeks. A kid told me to prank my life. I could have used that like a story to make things lighter. Instead, it stayed with me like a burr. The next day, I drove to the county office, to the Register of Deeds. It's a building that smells like dust and patience. I sat in a plastic chair for an hour while a clerk with a bun and a little smile processed a cowboy's request to see his grandfather's will. The clerk called my number. I asked my questions. She answered in words I had to chew slowly. When I came out into the sunlight, I had a plan that scared me. Not because it was illegal, it wasn't, but because it would rearrange the story my family was holding on to. I opened a new account at a different bank. I moved things. Not everything. Enough, I moved the deed. I put it in a box at a bank with a key I wore on a chain around my neck under my shirt like a teenage boy hiding his first love letter. I set automatic transfers from the sale of anything related to the house to go to an account with my name only. It required my sign-off. The bulldog set it up and said, "You're cooking something. I won't ask what." I said, "I'm making stew." He said, "Don't let it burn." A week later, the friendly developer returned. He came with a harder man. They had papers. They gestured at numbers like magicians asking me to pick a card. Donna stood close to me. Amy stood behind them, watching my face. The house felt full of guests I didn't invite. The papers went on the dining table, right where we put Thanksgiving turkey. The hard man said, "This is a once-in-a-lifetime offer, Mr. Haynes." I thought of all the once-in-a-lifetime offers I've already had. My wife's yes, my daughter's first gasp when she came out red and new and furious at the cold. The morning I woke up after bending over in the yard and thought I was dead because the sky went white then came back. Once in a lifetime comes a lot if you live long enough. I said, "What if we say no?" He smiled like he had a mouth full of one-liners. "Then the state will sell the view across your creek to someone else, and you'll have a construction site for 2 years. Then a long shadow forever. The new highway goes there. It's progress." The word progress stood in my kitchen like an uninvited uncle. I signed. My hand shook a little. Not out of fear, but because I'm 68 and sometimes my hand shakes even when I unscrew the pickle jar. Donna signed. Amy watched. They didn't read the line about proceeds being dispersed per my account instruction. The developer's hard man did. He raised an eyebrow, then lowered it. He made a note. I looked him in the eye like we were about to arm wrestle. He looked back like he arm wrestled every day and won most. They said closing would be quick. It was. Money moved like it always does. With precision when it wants to, with molasses when you need it. A number landed in a place only I could see. I felt nothing at first. Then a wave that made me sit on the edge of the bed and put my head in my hands. Not guilt, not relief, something else. Like a rope pulled taut and then, all at once, released. 2 days later, Donna and Amy packed a suitcase. "A week away," Donna said. "We need to breathe. We'll be back before the movers." Movers. That word hit me in the chest like a baseball. I nodded. I helped them carry bags to the car. I hugged my wife. I hugged my daughter. My arms memorized their shapes the way a hand memorizes the grip on a wrench. Donna said, "We'll call from the road." Amy said, "Don't be stubborn while we're gone." I smiled like smiling was my job. The morning they left, the house was quiet in a way that had weight. I walked through each room. The dining room where my mother once oversalted the green beans, and we all ate them anyway. The front room where the dog we loved and buried slept under the sunspot by the window. I touched the door frame where we marked Amy's height every birthday. Dated. Name next to it, heavier and heavier than no marks after 16, because at a certain age you think it's dumb to mark your height. I touched the wall anyway. Then I called a locksmith. He came in a white van with a logo peeling at the corners. He was a little younger than me, deeper lines around his eyes. He whistled while he worked. He changed the locks quick like a magician, as practiced at undoing as doing. He handed me 3 keys. They were gold and cold. I put one on my chain. I put one in a drawer. I took one to Janice next door and said, "If something happens, come in." She looked at me like she knew a secret and decided to be kind and not say it out loud. Then I put an envelope in the mailbox. The note inside read, "Thanks for selling the house. I've already transferred the money to my account." Good luck. I didn't sign it. I didn't need to. My handwriting is mine. Amy can spot it in a lineup. Donna knows the slant of my R's. Then I left. I didn't go far. I went to an old cabin my father had built near the coast. It smells like mildew and pine, and there's a shower outside that your bones either love or hate. I used to go there with Donna when we were young and reckless enough to think peeling paint is romantic. We haven't been in years. The windows are a little cloudy. The wind comes through a gap somewhere and makes a sound like someone singing off-key in the next room. I set my bag down on the sagging couch that swallowed me like a kind beast. I went to the market in town and bought milk, bread, eggs, a tomato that tasted like a tomato, bacon, and coffee, with a name that made promises it couldn't keep. I settled in like an old man. I am an old man. They called on the second day. Donna first. "Tom," she said. Gentle, too gentle. That voice the nurse uses before a shot. "We're back. Where are you?" "At the cabin." "Oh." A pause, like she wasn't sure what to do with that information. We tried to get in the house. Our key didn't work. Yeah, I said. I kept my voice flat. The news can be a baseball bat or it can be a pillow. I tried for something in between. Did you change the locks? She asked, even though the answer was walking circles around us both. Yes. Why? The softness in her voice was gone. The word was a hard, metal coin. I didn't answer that. Some questions are traps, even when the person asking doesn't mean them to be. I said, "There's an envelope in the mailbox." Silence. Not static. Clean silence. Then a series of things. The sound of a mailbox opening, paper sliding, paper unfolding. Amy's voice in the background, sharp and small. "What is it?" Then Donna. "It's from him." Then the words getting heavier as she read. "Thanks for selling the house. I've already transferred the money to my account. Good luck." Amy said a word we don't use much in this house. She said it quiet, so maybe it didn't count. Donna said my name like it was a kind of prayer and a curse. Tom. And then, "You can't do that." "I did," I said. Legally, I said. "The sale was clean. The funds were dispersed per my instruction. I gave you your share. Check your account." I waited. I could hear the clicks like rain when someone checks their phone bank. Amy's breath caught. "It's there," she said. "More than—" She didn't finish. Donna was quiet. Then she said, "You did this to punish us." I let that sit. Truth is a slippery thing. I had spoken to the bulldog about fairness. I had told him to enumerate the accounts, to separate what was real and what was story. I sent Amy a sum she could live on for a year if she were sensible. I sent Donna the bulk of her portion. I kept the house money in an account only I could disclose. Not because I wanted to be greedy, because I wanted control. I wanted a key on a chain that stayed warm on my chest. Maybe that is punishment. Maybe it is just air. "I did this to protect myself," I said. "From you. From all the people who love me when my house is worth $75 million and see a pond with geese and think I would like bingo." Donna made a sound that didn't belong to any animal I know. Then the threat voice came, the one I've only heard when someone messes with her daughter or her mother. "You changed the locks on your wife. You sold my house while I listened on the phone you didn't hang up." The silence that followed wasn't clean. It was full of nails. I imagined them standing on our porch, the porch where we carved our initials under the railing with a pocket knife on our 10-year anniversary. Donna had worn a red shirt that day. Amy had been in her room blasting music through her headphones, the walls vibrating. We had had a fight about money that morning, and I had made her laugh so hard she snorted. And then we had carved our initials like teenagers, so we wouldn't forget on purpose. They stood there now with their suitcases and their blowouts and their rage and their fear, and the key didn't fit. I heard Amy say, "We'll get a lawyer." I said, "Get two?" Donna said smaller, "Tom, don't. Please, just talk to me." I held the phone with both hands and looked out at the marsh in front of the cabin. It was low tide, the mud glistening like somebody's back after a swim. A heron stood so still it might have been thinking about nothing and everything. I said, "This is me talking. You made a plan without me. I made a plan without you. We are even. Is that what you want to be? Even?" Donna's voice cracked on the word. I wanted to tell her what I wanted. That I wanted things the way they were before the word 70 entered our kitchen. That I wanted mornings where her footsteps told me what mood she was in, and she would reach for a coffee mug that chipped in the same place and smile when it cut her lip and say, "Every morning is a little dangerous." That I wanted Amy to stomp around complaining about something that mattered and didn't matter. that I wanted my house to be a house, not a number bigger than our names. "I want time," I said. Then I hung up. The next week was strange. They stayed in a hotel. I stayed at the cabin. Lawyers called me. The bulldog barked at me to be careful. Friends texted me to ask if I was okay, using that careful tone people use when gossip is a lake and they're pretending they're not swimming in it. Rick texted me a scripture and a smiley face. I didn't answer. He came by the cabin one afternoon. I saw his truck through the gap between the slats of the blinds. He stood on the steps like a salesman and knocked. I didn't open. He called my name in that friendly, hurt way. I didn't answer. I sat very still and listened to the knock in my own heart. He left after a long, long while. On day 3, my neighbor Janice called and said, "They're back at the house, Tom. I left them lemonade because I'm not a monster." She is a monster in the best way. Her laugh carries 3 houses down. I said, "Thank you." She said, "You started something big. Be sure it's big for a good reason." Then she hung up. It was a kindness disguised as a threat. I took it like medicine. On day 4, something else happened I didn't plan. A man knocked on the cabin door. Not Rick, not a lawyer, not a developer. He was older than me, with a cap that said Army and a scar that ran from ear to collar like a piece of wire. He said, "You Tom?" I said yes. He said, "Your father, Joe, taught me to tie a line on this dock when I was 8. I was driving by, saw the light, figured it was him. It's not." I said, "He's gone." The man nodded like I'd told him about weather. He said, "He used to say, 'Don't let strangers make rules in your house.'" I didn't understand that then. He introduced himself as Vince. He pointed to a knot on the dock and said, "He tied that. It's still holding. You need anything?" It was the best sermon I've had in years. I said no. He said, "I'll be around." He walked off like a piece of the past, walking into a quiet street. On day 5, Donna came. Not to the cabin. She called from the road and said, "I'm outside." It was late afternoon. The marsh was gold. The bugs were making that sound bugs make when they're singing, but it sounds like a buzzing to us. I opened the door. She stood there in a white blouse and jeans and sneakers, hair up, no makeup, holding nothing but her phone. She looked like the girl I met at the hardware store in '85, asking which nails were best if you didn't know what you were doing. I wanted to cry. I didn't. We sat on the steps. She put her elbow on her knee. I put my hands together and rubbed my thumb and forefinger. Rasp, rasp. We watched the heron stab at something invisible. She said, "I haven't slept." I said, "Me either." She said, "I never wanted to hurt you." I said, "You did?" She said, "I know." We breathed for a while together, the way people who have known each other longer than they have known themselves can breathe. Then she said, "When my mother was dying, you know what she told me?" She said, "Marry a man who keeps the light on when you come home late." I did. You always did. I think I got scared that the light would go out. I thought if we moved, if we had a safer place, I could keep it on for us. And then Money walked in the door and pulled out a chair and sat at our table and we fed it. I let it lead. "I listened to you talk about me when you thought I couldn't hear," I said. My voice was calmer than I felt. "You talked like I wasn't a person, like I was a problem." She put her face in her hands. I watched her shoulders move. "I hate that you heard that. I hate that you said it." She looked up and the skin around her mouth was soft, the way it gets when we're in truth and not in spin. I did say it. I did it because Amy is scared. And the truth is, I am too. The house is too much for me some days. The stairs are too much. The yard. The way the wind makes the windows sing. It all feels like a thing that can swallow me. I wanted for once not to carry it. I wanted us to have a condo with an elevator and neighbors who bring casseroles. I wanted to pretend a pond would fix the hole I have in me. I didn't say what I thought. That I carried the house gladly. Not just because it was a house, but because it was my father's hands turning into my hands, and because I don't know who I am without a hinge to oil or a crack to patch. I said, "You tried to erase me." She said, "I tried to erase my fear." We sat. The sun moved. Time moves like a slow dog in stories like this. Then quietly, she said, "Do you remember the note you wrote me when Amy was born? You put it on my pillow when I came home and fell asleep in my clothes. It said, 'I will never make a plan that doesn't include you.' I kept it in my Bible for years." I did remember. My handwriting looked like a man running downhill, forward, forward, forward. She said, "I broke that promise. You broke something too." I said, "I know." She looked around at the cabin. "You changed the locks." I did. "On your wife." She said it flat, not as an accusation, but as a change in the weather we needed to acknowledge. A cold front. We both pulled sweaters around us. I said, "When you sold my house while I listened on a phone you didn't hang up, someone else changed my locks. I just matched it." She nodded, like she understood. Then she said something I didn't expect. "I'm returning Rick's key. I found it in the junk drawer. It's been there. I kept forgetting, or not wanting to remember what that key means." I believed her. Not because of the words. Because of the way her hands looked when she said them, open, palms up, like she was holding a bird she was reluctant to let go of and finally decided to. We didn't solve it then. Stories want you to finish clean. But we didn't map a new life in an afternoon with the marsh shining and the bugs singing and the heron forgetting we existed. We went back and forth for a few days. Lawyers circled like buzzards, then got bored and flew away when it looked like there wasn't going to be a fresh fight. Amy didn't talk to me for a week. Then she texted a picture of a casserole she ruined and said, "I tried." I sent a thumbs up. She sent a heart. That's how peace begins sometimes, in stickers. The developer sent me a thank you basket with fancy coffee and a mug that said, "Welcome to your next chapter." I threw the mug in the trash, then took it out again because that's not me. Then put it in the cabinet behind the blender, where things go to be forgiven slowly. Donna and I started talking on the phone like teenagers again, late, about nothing deep. The weather, TV, the neighbor's son who got a new truck and drove it around like he invented trucks. She told me Amy got a promotion. I told her the water heater at the cabin made a noise like someone singing through a kazoo. We didn't talk about the house for a while, like you don't talk about a wound while it's knitting itself back. Then one night she said, "Are you going to come home?" I said, "We don't have a home." She said, "We could." I thought about the cabin, the way it makes me feel like I'm in a photo from the 70s, slightly burned at the edges. I thought about the house, the porch light, the scuff-marked Comet, the bench by the window, the new locks. I thought about the money sitting in an account like a big lazy animal that needs feeding and care and rules. I thought about my grandmother's salt bowl. I thought about the way Donna smelled when she leaned in to kiss my cheek the last time we saw each other on the steps. "Maybe," I said. She said, "Do you want to sell the cabin?" "No. Me neither." She laughed then, a small salt laugh that said maybe we were still us. We could live there for a while. What about Amy? She'll be okay. She needs to be okay without us now. She's 35. She can make eggs without burning water. We kept talking. We decided what to do the way you decide how to sit on a crowded bus. You move a little, then a little more, then realize you're comfortable again. We let the house go, not because they pushed us, because we decided. Because fighting a river with your hands will leave you with bruises and anger and a lot of wet clothes. We took our portion. We set aside a fund for Amy that she can't touch until she's 50. We made a plan where we would rent a little place in town with a first-floor bedroom. We would keep the cabin. We would make the porch light exist wherever we were, not attached to a certain column of wood and a certain set of keys. Before we did any of that, we did one last thing. At night, we went to the house together. Donna texted me here from the driveway because it felt right to be small. I opened the new lock with the key that had become a weight I both hated and loved. We stood in the doorway. The air smelled like our lives. I took down the needlepoint that said, "Bless this house with love and laughter." Donna ran her fingers over the scuff comet. We went to the back and carved our initials again under the rail. A second set, awkward, old initials, trying again. It felt childish. It felt perfect. We didn't take much. A box of photographs, the salt bowl, the chipped mug, the baseball glove that smells like leather and cut grass and afternoons where nothing much happens. I closed the door. The lock clicked. It sounded like goodbye and thank you and don't forget me, and I won't. Donna stood on the porch with me. She took my hand. It was warm. So was the key on my chain. Outside on the street, a kid skateboarded by. Clack, clack, Eli. He lifted his chin at me like men do when a word is too heavy and respect is better wordless. I lifted mine back. We were two guys who had pulled off different versions of a prank, except it wasn't a prank. It was a life. We got in the truck and drove away. The developer will build towers. People with clean shoes will jog past a patch of nothing that used to be my backyard. They will pet their dogs, not know a thing about the porch light. They will not see the scuff comet. They will put their own marks on their own door frames and talk in whisper voices about their fathers and what to do with them. I wish them kindness. I wish them the sense to hang up the phone. A few weeks later, we were at the cabin, in the half-light before morning, when everything is quiet enough for you to hear yourself thinking. Donna made coffee. It sputtered. It smelled like burnt chocolate. She said, "You going to clean that thing?" I said, "Probably not." She laughed. It was a sound that made me think of boat wakes and church bells and the little rattle in the AC unit at the house we just left. She put her hand on mine. We sat. We breathed. We waited for the heat to build in the day. We waited to see who we would be now that our house was not our house, and the money was not the point, and the lock had nothing to say. Sometimes at night, I hear my father's voice in the creak of the dock, telling me not to let strangers make rules in my house. I tell him I understand now that sometimes the stranger is the future, and sometimes it's your own fear wearing a friend's shirt, and sometimes it's a man with a smile and a paper, and sometimes it's you. I tell him I changed the locks. I tell him it wasn't about keeping people out. Not really. It was about giving myself a minute to decide who I am when the porch light is off. A month has gone by. Amy comes on Sundays with muffins she bought and put in her own Tupperware like she baked them. We pretend. She sits on the steps and tells me about her work in that quick, efficient way. And once she put her head on my shoulder like she used to when she was little and the world was too loud. She apologizes for the tone in that room with the phone. I tell her I apologize for the note in the mailbox. She says, "It was kind of epic." I say, "Don't use the word epic about your parents." She says, "Okay, Father." Then, "Dad, soft." She means it both ways. I accept that. Donna and I sometimes drive past the old place. We do it without meaning to. Habit is a stream. It takes you places your brain didn't sign off on. The fence is higher now. The machines are bigger. There's a billboard that says, "Live above it all," and a picture of a woman in a white bathrobe smiling at a city she doesn't have to touch. We stop at the light. I keep my eyes on the road. Donna looks. I wait. She turns back to me and says something like, "Do you want tacos?" And that's it. That's the life. Not epic, not cinematic, real. Last week I went to see Janice. She pushed 2 jars at me, pickles and strawberry jam. "For your stubbornness," she said, "to sweeten and sour you." I told her I needed both. We sat on her steps and talked about weather. We watched Eli try to do a trick and fall and pop up and grin at his scraped knee like pain is proof of being alive. At night, the cabin has a hum. The marsh bugs, the fan, my wife's breathing. Sometimes I think about that envelope in the mailbox and how my handwriting looked on it. I think about the feeling in my chest when I wrote "good luck," not as a curse, but as a boundary. I meant it. I still do. Good luck to all of us, figuring out how to love people without writing them into a corner. Good luck to all of us, making plans and breaking promises and circling back and knocking on doors we changed the locks on. Good luck to the developer, to Rick, to the woman at the register of deeds with the bun, to the man named Vince who knew my father's knot and taught me in a split second how the past holds even when you aren't looking. I didn't win anything. I didn't lose anything I wasn't already on my way to losing. I bought myself a minute, then another, and then a few days strung together into a life. When people ask me why the key didn't fit the lock, I don't tell them the whole story. I just say, "Long story." And they nod because every story is long when you're the one living it. The short version is on the paper I left in the box that day. "Thanks for selling the house. I've already transferred the money to my account. Good luck." If you're waiting for the moment I cry, it came later. Not at the mailbox, not at the door, not at the cabin. It came when Donna started a sentence, "when we," instead of "if we," and put her hand on my knee and left it there. I was sitting with a plate of scrambled eggs and that burnt coffee. I sat there and felt the weight of the key against my chest and the memory of the porch light against my eyes, and I let the water come. It wasn't loud. It was like a leak under a sink that ruins the cabinet only if you ignore it. I didn't ignore it. I got a towel. I put my hand in hers. I held on. A few days ago, Amy hung up the phone after talking to me, and I sat there listening to silence, making sure it was silence. I put the phone down. I laughed. Then I got up and checked the door. Old habits. The lock clicked. Faithful. The porch light at the cabin is a little wobbly. I'll fix it tomorrow, or the next day, or I'll let it wobble. Some things don't need to be held so tight. That's it. That's the story. It's messy. It's ours. If you're wanting justice, you won't find the court in this town. If you're wanting fairness, you might find it here and there, in pickles and laughs and a note in a mailbox. If you're wanting a moral, I can't write it for you. I can tell you that when my daughter said, "It's time to put father in a nursing home," I felt something in me go still. And when their key didn't fit the lock, I felt it move again. That movement, small, stubborn, quick, is what keeps me alive. The day we left the old house for the last time, I turned back and said, "Thank you." I don't know if I meant the place or the years, or the way the door always stuck in winter, or the creak that whispered us to sleep sometimes. Maybe I meant the man I was when I bought it and the man I am now. Maybe I meant the kid who told me to prank them. Maybe I meant the heron, the marsh, the porch light, the lock that clicks. I don't know. I don't need to. The story ends the way it began, with a simple thing. The phone on the table, the light in the hallway, the smell of coffee that needs cleaning, my thumb rubbing my finger, that rasp that says I'm thinking. I am, and I'm not alone. Donna is here. Amy will be here on Sunday. The bugs sing, the water moves, the lock holds. For now, that's enough.